Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello to the peoples, right? My name is Charlie. Pronouns are he and they. I am a breathwork practitioner and a healer. And I wanted to come in and have this conversation with my good friend. Uh, because of everything that's happening in the world, really offering our own perspective as well as just like really offering offering up opinions and even possible solutions, right? But if you like that kind of conversation, if you're generally into breath work, healing, mental health stuff, if you're down for guided meditations and things like that, I'm going to highly suggest that you hit that subscribe button as well as the like button if you like conversation where we're talking about some of the taboos, the complexities, and even some of the magic of it all. Know that this is where you're going to find it. So please go ahead and click the like and the subscribe. And then I'll have my friend introduce themselves and tell you more about who they are.
Hello, I am Gary. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a lot of things, mostly a human, a complex human. Most recently, an exposure coach. So I help folks face their fears through exposure therapy. And, when we feel anxious about things, we tend to avoid teaching them to face the things. And this is actually this is an exposure for me, I would say. I have a lot of thoughts. I would say I'm a thinker as well. Um, I don't always call myself a healer, but I do dabble in the transformative arts, if you will. Um, I care a lot about our hearts. I care a lot about grief. I care a lot about the things that we tend to avoid and feel scared about, like death, especially. I think a lot of our issues from today have to do with that too, but we'll get to that. And today we're really gathering to talk about the problem, our current state of affairs, which I would say we could summarize in like what's going on with God and the government, which have a lot more alignment than we like to give it credit for a lot of the times. And then also offering our interventions around our collective personal responsibility. How do we counter something as large as God? How do we hold God accountable? I mean, even talking about this alone is blaspheming for some folks, and I think that is a big part of the issue. Is that we're never going to get to solutions or be able to exercise our imaginations when they're so locked in. You can't even question. That's an issue. We need questions so that we can find new answers.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Perfectly said, Gary. Um, yeah, and even just to like start us off, we were just in conversation about the show Chaos. It is on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, I would say I encourage you to go see it, and see how you connect with it to it. A shout out to the cast, a shout out to the creators, really bringing it in a prime time. Okay, very prime time, because it really we have as a society a lot of challenges, as Gary said, around the concept of grief, concept of death, really issues around power, what it means to be in power, to have power. Um, and I think that that's actually where the conversation gets to be, where we get to center, right? Centering ourselves in this conversation around power. Because at this point, up to this point, it's been very top down sort of thing. It's about who can dominate the best, who can cause the most fear, who can make the biggest promises and keep folks pacified and calm, right? And I think that that's ultimately where we find the biggest challenge is like, where do we get to be responsible for ourselves and also be responsible for and with each other versus this one person or being the one that says this is how things go and I'm going to just control the pieces, just trust me. And it's like how do I trust you when you don't know me? You don't know me, you don't know what's going on with me, right? And ultimately you don't care, right? What matters to you is that you know and that you feel secure. And so for me with the show Chaos, it really showed that even when we put people in these positions of power to dominate over us, to tell us what to do and to be responsible for our blessings as well as for our struggles, like it gets real wild, right? And there's a lot of pressure. right? And not necessarily to quote Kanye, but I'm saying he was on point. No one man should have all that power, right? No, not a single one. Um, and I feel like that show really further encourages the concept of how do we allow people to believe in what they believe in and be a part of their spiritual practices in whatever way feels absolutely best for them and their people, while also not punishing them for that, right? And us not causing harm to each other because of our beliefs, right? If that's part of it, then we can't. It's always gonna breed the same thing, no matter how nice you are, right? So for Minos's daughter, I can't remember her name.
Ari.
Say again.
Ari?
Ari, right? For Ari, like you can't pick and choose. You can't be like, oh, my dad is so wonderful and great while he's over here doing whatever to please the gods, including harming his own children and harming his family, right? For the sake of a title, for the sake of power, right? For the sake of control. And ultimately that falls apart. And I think that we see that um, in our societies all the time with the nepo babies and with people just like being put in certain positions because of who their parents are or who their families are, not caring about society, not caring about other human beings, right? No matter how nice they are, right? No matter how nice they are just to their family members, it matters how we treat each other as a whole, right? Um, we are a collective family.
We are. We are. And also, if y'all are looking, that's chaos with a
Right,
KAOS. Because when I first looked it up, I did not see. I found this other thing. But yes, that is the spelling. If you're looking for the show, it's really
right,
really. Um, I'm thinking about in the show the way that the gods live on Mount Olympus, away from all the other humans and the human. It's like very interesting how you could live so far away and then expect all these people who you clearly depend on to have your power.
right,
Like I don't want to get into all the stuff and reveal the whole show, but they really depend on the humans, right?
right.
Like it's the humans that are giving them juice, we'll say, and giving them their power, right? Through their belief, through a lot of things. And to think about like secluding yourself up on this hill and looking down on them,
Mhm.
and then you looking up at them and like all these people devoting their life to God, to gods, these gods, and these gods are despicable beings. They do not love humans. There's this really harrowing scene where Zeus is like, love, that thing that you feel, that softness you feel in connection towards this other living creature, that's weakness. And there's also a lovely moment where another I guess demigod, right? I think Persephone is a demigod because she is
Right.
she I don't know, demigod, but she's saying, I think the part of you that is not weakness, right? Love is not weakness. And I think the greater part of you is actually human. And I think that's so fascinating to think about when we think about God as perfect. Um, and this is why I came to the question of who's holding God accountable, because if something is perfect, then you don't really look to it, you don't really question it. But things have to be questioned. All things have to be questioned. That's kind of the whole, that's how you know things. Like
Mhm.
everybody loves the quote, cogito ergo sum, which is I think, therefore I am, from Descartes, but they don't actually remember that the full quote is dubito ergo cogito ergo sum, which means I doubt, therefore I think, therefore I am. You have to be able to doubt something, ask
Mhm.
a question and be like, am I alive? And then you're like, okay, wait, yes, I am, right? You then you do the process of confirming and starting to think through that. If you just think, oh yeah, I'm alive, how do you know? You have nothing to compare it against. And I feel like that's the thing that scares me sometimes about God, the way that we have had him. And I'm thinking about the Judeo-Christian God because that was my upbringing. But God as a concept is usually you can't question him, right?
Mhm.
He's safe from questioning, seemingly, right? Oh, he has a plan. And I'm thinking about this quote from Parks and Rec. It's like, who else had a plan? Hitler. And like, obviously, not to make light of that as a really heavy situation. And also, it's like, right, people with plans. It doesn't mean that just because you have a plan, you're now you can avoid accountability. Like, okay, if who's part of your plan,
Right.
and what is the plan? What is the intention? And why only you can know? But I'm supposed to play a role. I play a very specific role, but I can't say anything about my role.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't like that.
Right. Yeah, I think it definitely had me questioning like, oh, this is if this even just compared to our current world, right? The reality that we currently are living in, it also being really important to be present with being present with how the questions get answered, right? If they get answered at all, right? If it's like, no, no, just trust me, right? Or I'm better at least than that person. And no, right? And now it goes back to our, again, present of like lesser of two evils, right? I can't help but say it bothers me and immediately bothered me. Kamala didn't say anything about pro-Palestine, anything, right? And I think that that has to be red flag for everybody, right? And that is also not personal to her, right? Because I think that's the thing too, is that some people go to it being about her race, go to it being about her gender, go to it being about maybe where she's from or her background. And it's actually not about any of that. It is because Kamala is a person, right? She is a one singular person. And it is important for us to consider how much of this is being driven by by our past hopes and dreams for this future, right? There was a time when people could not even fathom a Black woman running for president, right? It just didn't seem possible, right? Period. Things have been set up that way. And also, even as this is now a possibility and a very much a likelihood, what kind of person would we want to see truly in this space, right? Who's truly going to do the thing? That it doesn't take $400 million for them to get even in the position. And then we're like, oh my God, we are in a country that is in debt. That's really interesting how all of a sudden y'all found $400 billion and people are on the street and starving, right? In the same way that in chaos, you have Zeus, who is the king of kings, he's the god of gods, and you somehow still have people living in squalor. You still have people fighting wars in y'all's names. But and then wonder why people are not praising you. Praising what? What are we praising? Right? We're praising hope, the hope that you'll like us enough to care for us. Right? When you're the person who created the humans, you the person who said, what was in the book and all that. Why would you write the book like that? What's that about? Why are you writing a book like that? Mr. Goody Two Shoes, why you write the book like that? Right? If you're that guy, what are you so afraid of? Right? Because it sounds like you're just afraid of losing followers. That's the only it. But also you're not doing anything at all to actually promote people to follow you beyond death and destruction, right? Beyond the threat of war. Right? Because I feel like that's what a lot of people are doing right now, of being like, oh, maybe Kamala will keep the war from touching me. Whatever the wars are out there, right? So the war against women's bodies, the war against queer and trans people's bodies, maybe she can keep it away. No, she cannot keep it away. And nobody else in that position is going to keep it away because they have a system to uphold. And that system does not care about bodies, does not care about people, period. Right? That's literally the system. It's just a system. It does not allow for there to just be people, even though every single person in the government is a person, right? So now we do have to call into question the warriors that will do their job, regardless of questioning like the intention, the purpose, right? We actually have to talk about that, especially now.
Yes.
They're people. Anybody who's being recruited into the army or whatever, those are people, right? Those are not machines. And even if they were machines, that would be a problem because they can't relate to nothing that's going on over here because they're not people.
Right. The human has been so diminished.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm thinking about politics and what it has become in this, like, I don't even know what to call it. Like a show of rhetoric, of false promises or like allegiances. It's like 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 what is the word? I'm trying to. It's like gang warfare, but I'm trying to think of what the word is before that. But it's like these weird allegiances and like just because I'm thinking about how many people are like, well, I'm not. I'm usually, or I'm gonna vote because I'm a Democrat, so I have to vote for it, etc. Or like, well, and again, like you said, the word the lesser of two evils. The lesser of two evils is still evil. Hello, that's why. Why would we make that choice?
Oh, that's evil. It's not as bad.
What? See, that's not good. That's not good enough. Um, and I feel like we really lose, right? From what I understand about political, the word like polis, I think it means people. Like like you were saying, human beings, one to one, how we treat each other. It's interesting that that's never considered politics. Like the way we walk past homeless people or they make us uncomfortable, that's political. That is actually how you treat people.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you see a particular person and you hold your bag a little bit closer, or you look at them and you're like, you say that those people, these things are political. This is actually where it's happening. It's not just these blues and reds and other colors that you align yourself with. I think we've really, really lost that. And that's scary. I think that's what causes a lot of the lost feeling too, and not feeling like you have agency. I actually this was not in preparation of this conversation, but I was telling Charlie that I was walking home from the gym and this woman approached me and was like, "Did you watch the debate last night?" And I was like, "No, I did not. What's up?" And she's like, "You're voting for Kamala, right?" And I was like, "Why?" And she was, "Because you're a woman." And because she didn't want to say that because I was black, because she was white, but she was like, "Cuz, you know." And I was like, "Okay."
Because
She's like, that's the only choice we have because he's not a choice. He's crazy. And I was like, also, see, and then even that again is a political statement, right? How we lean on, oh, he's crazy, so he shouldn't be fit. And it's like, no, don't discredit someone just because they're quote unquote crazy. That's not even the issue here. That's you can disagree with somebody and not call them crazy to try to like deplatform them, right? It's like that's not even the point. But then she goes on to say, well, you know, she's going to like protect your rights and she's going to make the world better for you and she's going to protect women's rights. And oh, that's a lot of pressure that you're putting on this one person to do when I have not seen a lot done for me um, throughout history. And I told her that I was very skeptical about a place that has been built upon that, a place specifically that has an ideology all around freedom and liberation that was built on slavery by a group of slave holders. Like Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration, said, "We the people," then went home to his slaves. It's fucked up it's tore up from the floor up, as they say, right?
hello.
It's all jacked up. So how could it ever be that they would have my best interest in mind? And I'm not saying me as a black, like a melanated human. I'm saying just like that ideology alone, that's the issue that needs to be grappled with. Like I think also at the heart of what we're talking about is right decolonizing our minds and understanding supremacy. Because it's the idea, because the idea that Zeus can live on the hilltop and we look up to him is supremacy. We have bought into that too. We view ourselves as lesser than too. Because this is how we move. Like we tend to compare ourselves to people and then, oh, well, I'm better than them. I'm less than them. And we move that way. We try to figure out our moves that way. And I just thought it was very interesting because what I hear in the woman's when she came to me is like, you want so badly to be saved, right? To someone come and give you a remedy and someone help you make the world that you want to see because we have so been taken away from our own agency. Like
Yeah.
we don't even know where to begin in changing the world. If I went around and surveyed a bunch of people and asked them, "Do you think the world is fucked up?" I'd say yes. But then if I said, "And what can you do about it?" I feel like they would say things around like protest, right, or organize. And I agree in some degrees, but what is it that we're organizing around? Because if our imagination is enslaved and captured, then you're only going to keep imagining and creating the same thing. Like whenever someone this is a great example. Someone says, "What's your dream job?" In my dreams, I'm not working. So if you're thinking about a dream job, you're perpetuating capitalism and the idea of like laboring for something or exchanging your labor to get something back, I assume, is kind of the question that you're asking about. So it's like it's so hard for us to even think of what's a better question to ask than that. Um, and so I'm saying that because if like she's this woman who approached me is like she's thinking of a political candidate, a human being who's within a system that has been built for many years to run a particular way to solve all the problems that it's also created.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mind fuck, actually.
The fact that we would even ask a Black woman to save us is a problem. Okay? Do it for us. I want to know who Kamala is doing it for. Are you doing it for you? Are you looking for some level of acceptance or praise because Kamala is a person, right? So is it that she's like, I never thought this would even be possible. I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure I get this, forgetting completely about the people that need her to serve, right? Not the rich homies around her, because that's who was around her, right? That's who was around Obama. So also it is let's not even put that on the homie. Let's not put that on Kamala, because then that messes with people's minds, right? What's really in her power and what's really not.
Mhm.
And what KAOS was awesome was showing me or reminding me, and even weird to say this, but Donald Trump kind of highlights for me is that people will listen to you if you start acting real kind of not present. Get a little delusional, right? Because my thing is, I don't understand why anybody messes with Trump beyond he just be saying stuff that people just be scared to say. Just say whatever, right? I feel like if I wanted to be silly, I would have got up there. Oh, y'all believe in me? No problem. I'm gonna get up there and be like, yeah, I'm finna do, etc. Say whatever, and they're gonna be like, this person is crazy. I bet you mad people follow them though.
Yeah.
How
And I
crazy?
and I think that speaks to this idea again of like people not necessarily, but he's speaking outside of the constructed imagination of what has been deemed appropriate to say. So they're like, oh shit, there's a bit of realness in there, even if it's delusional or crazy.
It's fucking silly, but he's doing it.
Yeah, we love a bold. We've always loved a bold human being.
Right.
We love artists. That's why we follow. That's why we get enthralled by other people's images and such.
Yeah. I was like, my brother, I mean, because also after the debate, my brother called me and wanted to talk about it. And it is, my thing is, I was like, Dad, if Trump was a comedian, he'd be a really good comedian because he got the homies laughing, right? He got the homies on jokes, right? And I can't imagine, even if you talk about, oh, he's crazy, I cannot imagine the impact, the negative impact on his mental health with all of what is going on, even the expectations on him, right? People really be expecting like honest, like seriousness from him. And he is the most unserious person we have ever seen. Absolutely unserious. He was like, oh, y'all gonna let me do whatever I want to do? Okay, I'm gonna do this. I would just do this. Because why not? They're gonna believe me anyways. People somehow love me so much that I could say anything, like that the immigrants are eating cats and dogs. And then like I feel like he'd be up there playing Cards Against Humanity and stuff. And like that's how they prep him is like they play Cards Against Humanity and see what he gonna say. He
Yes.
probably take an improv. Come to find out, homie been an improv this whole time. And like playing, just playing. Anybody I've ever heard talk about Trump, anybody for Trump, anybody, I don't care what color they are, I don't care where they from, it's the same kind of person. Somebody who was dying for somebody to save them, right? Save them from themselves, in which like they don't feel comfortable, confident, powerful enough to say whatever it is they need to say to their family members, to their partners, to their friends. They don't feel comfortable saying the thing. And they feel often a lot of shame
Mm-hmm.
about whatever position that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're like, somebody will help me get more money. Somebody's gonna help me feel differently about my family. Somebody's even gonna make me feel better about being the outlier. right? Look, that person's so opposite, and look, they're still doing it, and they might possibly be president, and they got to be president. I could do that. Sure. But for at what cost? Because to me, even if I was like, oh my God, a black woman being a president, oh my God, amazing. Let me go for her. Is definitely gonna make me do a double take. Homegirls start talking about not caring about the environment. Homegirls start talking about not caring about war and apartheid. What are we talking about? What kind of world you trying to create, girl? Wait a minute now. All skin folk ain't kin folk. Okay, whoa. What is going on? I don't want you to save me because your saving look a little. It look like what Hitler was trying to do. Okay, and we can't. It's like we can't. Because my thing is, I'm like, what if nobody? What if people were like, you know what? Not only am I not gonna vote, I'm gonna go out and just keep saying what I need to say about what I believe. Just get from the heart, though. It gotta be from the gut. What you deeply truly believe, what you deeply and truly want to see in the world from your imagination and from your heart of healing, right? From the part of you that wants better for you and wants better for the people that you love and care about, knowing that that involves every single person, the person that you never thinking about, the person that never crosses ever anything in your conversation, right? Like you never ever even fathom this person even exists. I saw a video yesterday because I be on Instagram a lot more than I would like to admit it as of recent. But I've been doing this sort of experiment where I'm like, let me see what I can find that I would never come across this otherwise, right? If it was not for the internet and Instagram and how people have been putting themselves out there. And I saw this video of this woman who is Maori, a Maori person, and also Muslim. And I was like, huh, okay, yeah. Who's representing her? Okay. Do people care about who she represents as well? Right. And I feel like that's important. We need her part of the conversation. We need everybody to be considered. If people do not feel safe coming to this country, we have a problem. If people do not feel safe in the street, we have a problem. If people even have to be concerned, because like I'm not saying anybody should cause harm to anybody because of their political beliefs, but we are getting to the point where it's really that deep that people are like, I think that it's getting to the point where folks are just willing to harm each other because of what they believe, and we got to address that. And it's not about telling, no, we don't do that. That's not nice, but really being able to connect for real, really fully connecting with what's going on here. Because I'm like, the debates is cute or whatever, but to me, if y'all saw homie was just playing on the stage, the whole debate is over. The debate is over because we're not debating, you're just saying stuff.
Silly.
Right. And that's why I was like, also, they should have handled Zeus, because Zeus, you just saying stuff right now. I don't know why they were trying to talk sense into him and all. He was on something else and he been on something else. That's how y'all got here. So what's your experience around power and having that shift? Where it's no longer you can, oh, we don't care about the humans. We don't ever have to care about them. We just have sex with them and do stuff with them. And, it's just fun to watch them and do stuff. With the living beings, as y'all are also living beings.
Mm. I feel like people often seem to forget that we live together. We're all together. Because what I was thinking when you were speaking is like, if your safety and liberation it necessitates the eradication of another human being, your world is not safe.
Right.
Like, I think that quote is often used, but not always sat with, right? The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. If you're using, if the only way you can think of, I heard a quote recently that said, or a friend of mine said, society is only as safe as its bravest artist feels. Mm. And I've always said, I feel like it builds onto it well. I think a society is only as safe as the worst of their worst is treated. as well. And
Mhm.
it's like a world that people can get imprisoned in, and a world where people could get murdered for doing something, just having different beliefs. This is a very unsafe world, and we perpetuate that. It's not them that makes it scary, and it's the fact that you think of them as a them that makes the world scary. That makes us less unified. And I feel like a lot of us are not taught that we're all humans together. That's like a very big. There's two things I would say are missing most from school. One is like anything about the self, or like, how does that feel for you? No, just do the homework assignment and get that test done. And I don't
Memorize this
know how
and
you're, and you didn't want to come today, but you got to come 5 days a week. It's just what it is. Like, there's not the checking in with self. And then there's not very much community. It's just like maybe a group project, or like, but we never grappling with our humanity together. And we never get to know each other on a deeper level. So how are we ever going to learn these skills? And that's something I've been thinking about a lot. Like, of course, why people, the reason the pathway to a different world or evolution or different imagination is so obscured, we don't have the skills to practice that. We've not been, and who's still like, our parents didn't teach us that. Our parents didn't teach you, oh, go check in with yourself first and then come back and let me know. Or
Mhm.
like, those people over there, those are our neighbors, not just the people who live on the block, but like everybody, all those people out there, they're your peoples.
Yeah.
You can disagree with them. You can fundamentally disagree with them, but there's a life force that we all are a part of that runs through me and you and them. And that's why we're all here together. And I feel like that almost feels laughable to some people. Like, if I brought up like that we're all humans together on this planet, I
Mhm.
feel like people are like, and so what? And I'm like, whoa, that's scary. That's scary to me.
Mhm.
The lack of recognition of one's own humanity, what that means to be alive, and then being able to see that in another person.
Mhm.
And that's what is missing for me. That's why I don't really, it's not like I don't care, but that's what's missing for me for all conversations around changing the world, with debate or this presidential election, or change. Like, I think about, I think it was Dr. Martin Luther King who said um you can't legislate discrimination out of people's heart, or like, it lives in the heart. You can't change somebody's mind because you change policy.
Right.
You That's not how it works. Like, we have to fundamentally embrace love, right? And that means admitting that we don't know what it is and that it is knowable somehow, and we got to go strive for it and figure that out. But that's not even part of we don't even talk it. Love, shut your ass up. This is not a rom-com. That's all we know about love. Like, it's just this like foolish feeling or lovely feeling, but it's not about the act of actually getting to know somebody else and like really grappling with the fact that we're here on this planet, this spinning rock in the middle of space, don't know what the fuck is going on here, but we're all together. There has to be some kind of significance in that.
Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely has to be. Um, this week, one of we ended up in the conversation around like mental hospitals, and one person was saying that checking into a mental hospital was really helpful for them, into a psychiatric hospital was really helpful for them. Part of it was that, like, they just got to chill and watch TV and eat ice cream all day, right? And I was like, great. Another person was like, it was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. And it's because I felt like I couldn't, in society, I could not control myself. And I was just like, huh. And this being a Black person talking about control, and often we are talking about controlling ourselves, but actually, what if we are responding very accurately to what is happening around us in our world? And it actually has to be that that's how we're responding. The whole concept of like things like professionalism and being polite in certain ways, no. Because at the end of the day, we're always gonna know we don't feel like we belong here because the humanity has been taken out of things, right? Our care is not being centered, so that we don't belong there, right? Even in a conversation yesterday, with a friend of mine, it was I was talking about truth being our default.
Mhm.
We want to tell the truth. It is important for us to tell the truth. right?
Mhm.
So even when we think that we're holding secrets for God, right? Or whoever we consider in power, that's not helpful because we want to tell the truth and say what the truth is from our hearts, right?
Secret sick.
Right? Secrets can keep you sick, right? Because you store them somewhere and they go there to rot, right? And that's different also than like keeping certain things for yourself and to yourself, right? Things that you're like, this is for me, right? Versus something you got to keep locked away, stuffed down somewhere within your body or your mind. Like, and I feel like that's the thing. When people feel scared to say who they believe in, right? And what they believe in, we got a problem, right? And so even it's messed up that one person can have one experience in a mental hospital in a psychiatric hospital and somebody can have a totally different one, and it's because their humanity is not being considered, right? That they are not acting out, they are having accurate response to what is happening to them and for them, and they need care, right? They don't need to just be medicated, they don't need to just be put away and thrown over there, right? Considered crazy or dismissed, but they get to be cared for, right? And I think uh, anytime that I'm doing breath work, there have been times where I'm like, does this even work? Like, I know it has helped me in a lot of ways and has opened me up and got me real clear. Is this working for people? Right? Do they get it? Do they understand? Um, and then also then seeing the impact of just being able to like reclaim the power of your own breath, right? We're a lot of black and brown folks, because I work almost exclusively with the BIPOC folks and LGBTQAI folks. Like, where do we get to fully breathe in a world where folks are like chanting, I can't breathe, because we are being suffocated, right? Our whole humanity is being suffocated out of us, whether it be because we got to work to make money to live. What? Right? People should not have to pay for things like housing. I don't care what nobody say. New concept. We shouldn't have to pay for things like water, clean water. Never should be a thing, right? That needs to be against the law to even charge people for water, because that's crazy. If you talk about crazy, that is crazy, right? You got to charge people to have healthy, fresh food. That is crazy. When we live in a world where there are some people who are so good at growing things, just give them somewhere to do it, give them the tools to do it. And there are people who want to support and who want to help. Let them come and support and help, and we can have what we need, right? I think it's also about updating the story, because that's the thing too. Zeus needed an updated story, and he
Mhm.
didn't realize that. You
Mhm.
need an updated story so that one, this pressure is not on you the way that it is, this expectation that you've put on yourself. Nobody else has this expectation of you. You put that on yourself that I'm the one. Okay. You see how that feels? Not good, right? And your father thought he needed to be the one, when really you were just a traumatized, scared boy.
Mhm. Your dad trying to eat you. Scary.
That's scary and horrible that
Mhm.
happens. Let's never recreate any kind of those experiences as much as possible, right? And being able to trust not just the things that you create, because I'm like, what was the point of creating all these other gods if you weren't going to listen to them? If they weren't going to be helpful to you or to anybody else? They just represent stuff.
Just so you could.
You created a whole universe that's fucked up like this. You know you don't got to do that, right? You don't have to. You don't
And
even have to.
from what I understand, I feel like weren't his siblings just born as well? Like in Chaos, he says that he made everybody. But from what I understood, Kronos, his dad,
Yeah.
had there was a prophecy that one of his children was going to destroy him. So he ate all his children. But him and Gaia, I think, were just having kids. So like
Yeah.
he's like king of the gods. But again, there's this interesting idea too of like, how are you the same thing as me and you are king of me? Like shouldn't we all be equal together? But he's like, no, me at the top though. Me, because I guess liberated y'all or it defeated our father so that we could all be equal together. Like I was the chosen one. Because I think his mom did hide him away so that he could come back and overthrow his father. And it's like, there's this quote about something about like it's just the individuality is dangerous. It's dangerous when you take something out of context and make it all by itself. It's scary. That's
Right.
how people, that's how like, not insanity, but that's how delusion starts to happen. That's when a lot of issues start to happen, when you're away from other people and you just siloed in your own thing.
Like you,
That's why cults are dangerous, because you're away from the thinking of everybody, which means different kinds of thought, and now you have one kind of thought only. That's not good,
right.
because it all the multiplicity exists, so you have to exist with it. And I was thinking about when you were saying can't breathe, like who can breathe really? Seemingly nobody, because everybody, like you were saying, black and brown people, and I'm like, white people can't breathe too. If there's no trees, y'all can't breathe either. And also just thinking about when you have, I guess I don't know much about it, but like incels is a term I've heard, like people who gather on the internet in these small little pockets and doing stuff. They can't breathe either. That's
Yeah.
why we're doing this. And it's like, really, seemingly we are not able to handle the distress of an uncomfortable conversation. I really enjoyed Joyner Lucas's video, like I'm not racist. I thought that was really interesting, where he has like a conservative white man facing off with I guess like a black person who's like kind of like a thug, and they're like talking about why they hate each other.
Mm.
Um, and it's like, this is how things change, like when we encounter it and allow ourselves to be changed by the conversation. I'm also thinking about is his name Daryl Jones? I think it might be Daryl. Let me see. Let me look it up real quick. I believe it's Daryl Jones. Yes, he went around and was befriending KKK members and just holding space to talk to them about their beliefs and just meeting them where they're at. And over time, in meeting with one of the head Klansmen,
Mm.
the man changed his beliefs and his values, because he was like, "Oh shit, it's kind of crazy that I've been talking to you for years and still hold these other beliefs." Like you were saying, allowing ourselves to be updated, allowing ourselves to have things change. I feel like we're willing to die on the hill because that's what we think gives us power and value. And like, well, I never changed my beliefs. That is not something to be proud of, I don't think. I think we come into the world to be changed, to be affected by one another, and to learn how to grapple with that. And it's something I was thinking about too, with the updating, needing updating. Like, maybe this government made sense when we was just in like Jamestown, and we were along the coast of the East Coast. I mean, come on, like how can you over here in the White House know what the hell is going on in Hawaii? First of all, why is Hawaii even part of our shit? Like,
Leave them people alone.
Hawaii. What'd you say?
It's like literally leave those people alone.
And it's like, it makes more, I've always thought it would make more sense. Like, why would I go with my issues to a judge that doesn't know me? Why would I not solve this within my community? Why, like, why do I, like, again, I get it's all this delegation of our agency away. And I know that it's not like we chose that per se. The government, starting from monarchs until our government now, they have an authority of violence, right? Like, we'll keep shit safe, but we also gonna enact violence on you to make sure that you know never to act up, because we gonna fuck you up if you do.
Right.
But like, that's a big trade-off. Like, we'll keep you safe, but we could fuck you up. That's
It's like I'm safe. I think I'm safe. I'm gonna try to do my best to stay safe. Then
right.
I'm busy being anxious about staying safe, and you said you're gonna keep me safe. I guess now I'm freaking out for the rightful reason that just in case you decide I don't deserve to be safe no more, now I'm not safe,
So it's not safety.
right? Because I don't feel emotionally safe now to say anything about the way that you might be trying to keep me safe.
Yeah.
Safe.
Yeah. And I feel like I've always thought it would make more sense to be in smaller groups of government, like Brooklyn. If Brooklyn has different, what would they be called? Neighborhoods? Yeah, neighborhoods like Bed-Stuy, Bushwick. Shouldn't there be the county that way? And even that is so big. Like, we don't even know the people on the block like that.
Yeah.
Each block should have not its own government, because then I think that's where the gang shit happens, right? People be like, oh, this is my block and that's my block. It's like, no, 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 no. But we should all have a way of understanding, how does life work best for all of us together. And it takes time to grapple with that. I think that's the thing, is we want efficiency, instant gratification, give me, and have it figured out for me. I don't want to do no thinking. I think that's for me always been the biggest issue about government is that most people have been like, you know what? I'm not qualified to think. I don't want to think. That's too big a issue for me. Let them worry about that. But it's gonna affect you.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's like, I guess it kind of absolves you of consequences. You think it absolves you of consequences because it's like, well, I'm just following the law or I'm following what they said.
You get
But it's
no.
like, but what do you think? What do you feel? How do we react to each other? Like, it's funny that Hitler has come up in this conversation several times because I've always been blown away by World War II in how Germany moved. But I'm like, how you got a whole nation to do that? And it's because of something like this, right? Well, he said so, so I'm gonna go ahead. But nobody could have been like, not more people be like, but that don't feel right with me. But again, where did they learn to be like, that doesn't feel right with me? I feel like all our life we're doing some shit that don't feel right to us, but we get not only praised for that, rewarded for that, and
Mhm.
that's how you stay safe. And again, it's not safety if I got to do all this performance and an abandoning betrayal of myself to be able to be safe, or like giving up my other fellow human to be safe. It's not safety.
And cheating and harming my family to stay. Because it's my thing too with mine. Minos is like, had he gone through with all the stuff you went through, not only did you kill your child, you got to go look at your other child in the face and lie to her
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of your life, in addition to the guilt and shame she already feels, right? In addition to the grief that her mother already feels for her child being dead. And it's like, yes, she's being jacked up, and easily we can say she's just a mean and horrible mother. And also, right, the grief of that it was caused, and then the further note, it was caused by your husband,
Mm-hmm.
this person who you assumed to love you and care for you. And it wasn't about that at all. It was about impressing somebody he thought had more power than he did,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've
right?
had a great conversation before about fear versus respect. Because I think they can cause similar, they can appear, the effect of them can appear similar, right? If somebody is scared of you, they may not do something that you don't like. But it's very different because, again, when the eyes are not on you anymore, if the force is not there with somebody who's been using fear as a way to get respect, then it falls apart. I'm thinking about parents who beat their kids or give really harsh punishments and don't let them do shit and all of this stuff. Your kid does not respect you because
Right.
the moment you're gone or away, I mean, maybe the hope, right, is that you so condition them with fear that they are just gonna like shrink themselves and never do something. But most people, their agency gonna come up somewhere. It's gonna pop up somewhere. They're gonna try to go do so because we have to have a little bit of agency in our lives, like no matter what. That's
Mhm.
why I remember learning that with like eating disorders, right? It's like if I have no control in my life, I could at least control what goes through my body. And now I'm gonna have disordered eating. And so when I think about, yeah, as soon as the eyes are off you, now I'm gonna do whatever the fuck. And that was so I never learned anything except for how to act in your presence. Versus when you actually respect somebody, that means considering yourself. It's values based. It's not just conditioning. You know, you could teach anything to fear you by doling consequences on it, but that doesn't mean that learning is happening. I think that's very interesting too. When I think about like AI and people thinking about that, like becoming its own thing and stuff like that. But like learning is not just repeating things. It's not just being able to calculate things even. It's not even just being creative. It's there's a consideration, there's a grappling that happens, I feel like, with learning that is different than just conditioning.
Yeah, there's a doubt, there's the unknown, that all of those things have value, you know. There is even acknowledging the unknown.
Yeah.
Where I feel like also we know exactly what's gonna happen with Kamala. We know this already. We see it. Stop. Stop. Right? It's the same story over and over, and it is to appease the people who can't even, who are having a hard time growing in their vision, right? So what you may have wanted as a small child, what you may have thought was impossible in your early 20s, 30s, 40s, etc., right? What wasn't possible even in your parents' generation. Now that it is possible, you must update, Okay, if in high school or in college you were fighting for a thing and it felt like this was the only way to get the thing to happen, update. That's no longer how it gets to happen like that. We don't need that. We don't need that. It touched my heart and soul to see Obama be the first. Like when he got elected, I recall that feeling, right? And then also having to be like, and this person is just a person.
Yes. Who is again bound by particular the reason he's in this position, there's something he's here to do as well.
Right? He's a pawn like every other, and not to dismiss his whole humanity and personhood. And
Yes, but
he's
the
the
role he's agreed to.
right. It's just a role, and he's moving around on the chessboard, right? And really, all the countries is playing with each other anyway. So you can't even be like, oh well, America is against this country. No, they're not. Though they're their friends, but they're like, friend, don't do that. Don't say that. Okay, because what we're gonna do over here is what we believe in. Okay, say it, friend, say it. And that's it. It's not actually about caring for anybody, right? And that's actually super important for everything that we're doing. If we're talking about anybody's country who's like, if y'all do this, then we're gonna blow y'all off the map. Well, know that if you do that, you're gonna fuck up everybody else, including your homies, because we are here together. Okay. So if you're like, I'm ready to die, then you're taking all of us with you, friend. Right?
Yes.
We cannot go dropping bombs on people. It affects the air and the earth, the same one we all living on. Like the same one. You could
I always wondered that.
I would love for leaders of countries to just have screaming matches when they mad at each other. Let me just yell at you, and we're gonna go back and forth until we're ready to just have a conversation. And then we can make some other decisions. Right? Y'all get to go in the room and yell at each other like fucking bitch. Fuck
Right.
your shit. Well, fuck your shit. No, fuck you. No, fuck you. And then we get it out of our system. And we're done. And we're done.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to the rest of this stuff. Because all of the stuff, we're doing the same shit. Everybody, let's be honest, everybody got issues with their parents. That's partially what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Okay. And we have not felt comfortable or safe enough to say, fuck out of here. No, we're not doing that.
Mhm.
Right. A lot of people have not come to own their own power, no matter how old they are, to
Mhm.
aim and own their own power. Right. And the power that they have of community, of care, right, of truth, that it matters to us. We do not want to be lied to. As much as it can bring us comfort and the illusion of safety, we don't want to be lied to, right? And it does not feel good to try to hold certain things close to our hearts and our chest because we're afraid that people are going to cause us harm for what we believe, right? Or for the care that we want to still receive and the support we still want to receive, even if what we say does not comfortable, right? Because that's the thing. Even when people are scared, like it's annoying to even feel like afraid to say certain shit to white people. For example, as a black person, out of fear for what will happen to my life, my and my well being. But like that labor costs all of us stuff. It's not even just black people, and I think that we forget that, right? Even if for any politician who is like, I care for these people, you're still losing if we don't feel safe to say what we need to say. You lose, no matter what your intention is, no matter what is motivating you in that position. Like you lose when we don't feel safe, right? And when you also don't allow yourself to trust the people that you're claiming to want to lead and serve. Can't do. Right? Or if you feel so you don't feel courageous enough to say no, right? The fact that Kamala probably doesn't even if she totally is against everything happening in Palestine and she's very pro-Palestine, she has to be courageous enough to say that no matter what's going to happen next, right? Courageous enough to be like, I stand for dot 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 dot. And then if y'all people who want to choose her for real, will choose her for real, right? For whatever their own reasons, but like really from her heart. What if she spoke from her heart? I really want to know. I'm like, Donald, are you just playing for real?
I wish I knew what he really thought about too.
Is he doing the TikTok thing that people do? Like people get on the internet and they put on this persona and performance and they make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they have fun doing it, but that's not really them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a performance, a character. People clearly like it. People get a lot of sound bites from Donald Trump. They get a lot of funny images and memes from Donald Trump. And I'm like, is he just like, well, I know that I'm not good at business and money. If this is the way that I'm gonna do it, and like is the easiest, smoothest way in the navigating of this wild ass world that doesn't fully care about me for real,
Mm.
right? Because if nothing else, people are using Donald Trump as a shield, and that can't be good. Can't be good for him. Can't be good for his family. I'm certain most of his people hate him. Cannot stand him. What's the impact of that? That your children hate you, right? You don't have partners because nobody wants to be around you. And if you do have a partner, they're there for the clout and the money. No other reason. That can't be good. No matter what the title is, no matter what anybody says and what's written down in history, that can't be good for you at all, right? I know we keep talking about Hitler, but I think annoyingly a good case, a good example, because Hitler was on drugs, a lot of them.
He was not well.
He was not mentally well. He was not physically well. He was a disabled person. He was a product of incest. He was a product of poverty, right?
Right.
And a lot of bureaucracy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? An imbalance in the world is it's imbalance when people do not feel cared for or not getting care. Right? When people are just dismissed as crazy and it's whatever, throw those people away. Don't listen to them, man. You're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Kanye annoys me. Friend, he's a Gemini. I'd be like, French. Right? And yes, he has his mental health issues. And also he be saying stuff that be on brand. Right? We gotta talk to our Jewish homies. Jewish homies. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on. Let's be more responsible with how we doing the thing. Okay. This is how we want to participate in the jam that you got going on. Right? Stop hurting us. Stop putting out jacked up images of us, of all of us to collectively. Right? How do we teach each other? How do we share with one another and grow together? So that we're not in these like, I must stay away because your sickness will get on me. Like, stop that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because whatever, from what I be hearing and seeing from the Orthodox homies, they're not okay either with what's going on and how it's happening, right? Because you're keeping people away from one another. We are meant to connect. That's what we do. We need connection. We need other living beings, whether the living beings be other humans or plants or, and or, right? And I'm just like, even further, again, going back to chaos, it really important moment. It was a very important scene when you were talking about Zeus and Dionysius, and when he was like, "Oh, that thing that you feel, love." Such a throwaway, right? Because it can hurt to go through the experiences of love and still see it, understand it, know it as love, right? And understand the value of that. And it doesn't have to be in our most dire moments. Because my thing is, I don't want to be at a desperate moment that I remember love. I want to be able to be in love all the time, as much as possible in this life. And I think if everybody got to have that experience, just daily life, this whole world would be different, right? And I see it happening with people working from home. What choices we then get to make about how our day goes, right? It's the number one thing I've gotten from working from home is that I'm responsible for this. Right? I still get to make a choice, even with the layers of capitalism and other pressures that are placed upon me and the people that I love. But like, I get to choose how I do this, right? And to me, that has been me reclaiming my power, right? Where I get to choose um, more about how I get to feel in my day. And for a long time, decades, people did not think working from home, like so many people working from home, was even possible. Right? I get to be even clearer about my responsibility for my care in an everyday experience. And as much as people have been like, oh, get your own business and you can be your own boss. Yeah. But if you got toxic boss vibes, you'll be a toxic ass boss to yourself. Right? Like, period. And also, I know before you had mentioned the purge earlier at some point in our conversation. And I feel like right now we are going through a purge. Right? And not the purge like the movie, y'all. Let me be very clear. We're not talking about that.
I think that's something important too to note that movies can only share but a little bit because there's an agenda behind it.
Yes.
I'm thinking about like the Matrix, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, they're storing us for our energy." And it's like that's not what the Matrix was about. It was about how we give technology life, which is you with this in your phone, your hand in your phone, putting content into Instagram. That is how it works. Like AI just sits there in stasis until you say something like, "Hey, name of the brand. Hey, Chat GPT, I'm putting something. It requires that. That's the energy they were talking about, not like just mining our energy, our creative energy, right? And then when I think about the purge, we think about this violent outburst, or like I guess they've reached what peaceful times, and then now there's this moment where they can like kill each other. But that's not what a purge is either. Like a purge is like a I'm also thinking about apocalypse. Like apocalypse, we think of like end times. Apocalypse in Greek, from what I understand, means unveiling. So we've been in an apocalypse.
Yes.
We are in apocalyptic times, and we think, oh, where's the storm? Like, yes, there's things that also occur, like the storms do happen and things like that. But yeah, this is an unveiling.
Yeah.
Unveiling, so there's a purge. You see what it is? I don't like that. So
Right. And we're not talking about cleansing, right? Where people start going into like, then we need a cleanse. It's not about this whole clean thing. Stop that. Okay. We are inherently messy and complicated. And also, there's a lot of righteous anger that needs to be healed and addressed, right? Addressed and then healed, right? But it has to happen, right? People have to be real angry about what's going on in the White House and real angry about the wars. And like, I'm not saying anybody needs to take up arms, but I feel like, what if people were just like, actually, fuck out of here with this, fuck out of here with this, and fuck out of here with this. And it's not about joining an army. We're going everywhere and shutting down all that shit because we're not doing that anymore. Period. Right? Anybody who's messing with they citizens, anybody like, hey, stop it. All the people, even the people around them, was just being like, actually, I don't, this is not good. Stop. Right? Generationally, legacy wise, this is not good. Right? Because then we continue with the same cycle. Somebody always want to be in power, somebody always want to fight, somebody, and all the while, these people do not have the care that they also need. Right? They don't have people accurately and positively mirroring and responding to them. Right? The richest homies, as much as people want to be the rich, wealthy people, them homies be mentally not all right. Right? They don't get the care that they need. Right? It doesn't matter how they feel. Right? It doesn't matter what they want to do, what their passions are, what they care about. It's about keeping the legacy. It's about keeping the money in, about keeping this illusion of power and dominance over people. What about all the homies? Like, I want to encourage people who feel like they have, right? If you have a lot of money, right? I'm talking about the billionaires and the millionaires. Literally, you can just give it away. Give it away. Not about a tax break. If you got a lot of homes and you're like, damn, I have so many homes, I can't even live in them. My family just has so many homes. Let people live in that. This is not hard, right? If you like to cook and you know you have access to food and cook it, do that. We could just do that. But it's a trap for everybody when we try to stay in this thing and then be surprised at the rage and the what comes of it, right? This is crazy making. right? And we don't need to be in it. And even the people who are out here doing it, they're a part of this cycle. They're even sometimes addicted to the crazy making. That's what it is, right? And I don't want to be with the homies who are down with the crazy making, right? For the simple fact that it doesn't actually help us in any way.
Thinking about back to the thing of like, we've seen how the lowest of the low are treated, be it criminals or homeless folks. So then it makes sense why you would be like, oh, let me get away from that and ascend very high away from that. I'm not even going to look at that. That's on them. That, and I'm thinking about how oftentimes to be a billionaire or a millionaire, there's a delusion around it, right? Like you have to, like it's not just thinking grow rich, but like you got to think a particular way. You got to do a particular thing and achieve a particular thing. And it's like, you kind of leave the earth behind, right? You leave the human parts behind, the people who are not, well, they didn't work hard enough or their mindset is tainted. And it's like, hmm, hmm. Something I've thought about is like if you left, like our culture is fucked up. Like if someone is raised by the streets, they're fucked up usually. Meaning the main course, the main energy running through things is not love. It's not nurturing. And I get it because nature is like entropy and dying is over, like you're always surviving and things like that. I get that, but also like you would think as an evolved society, if we were to be evolving, that we would then try to take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And not like it's not just social services or like the government offering this and that, but like inherently caring about one another again is back to what I'm thinking about. Because I'm thinking about somebody when you were talking about Hitler, or when I think about serial killers, like there's never been somebody who did those things and came from a well-adjusted, loving home where their parents listened to them and validated them and they felt like worthy human beings and they knew that they were lovable. I
Mm-hmm.
never hear like a very loving story and then you become somebody who hurts other people.
Right.
I feel like it's always another thing going on. And then that's how you get your power back again. Again, with Zeus, you have a very traumatic story. So you're like, that's never going to happen to me again. I'm never going to be victimized again. No, 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 no. And
Right.
that only works but for so long. It's very tiring to be having to constantly generate energy to protect yourself in that way.
Right. And then you have your self-fulfilling prophecy. Because even if it was this freaking line that he was talking about on his hat, let's say it was. Because to me, it further speaks to him thinking too much about himself and not being like, oh, I may have crossed the line, right? Of who I said I was going to be versus who I was not going to be. I was not going to be like my dad, and here I am crossing that line.
Yeah.
And like, oh well, I guess now we're here. We're gonna go full flat. No, pull back, right? Because what if even at the point where um he was in conversation with Dionysius about all the destruction and stuff, he was like, okay, clearly you're not into this. What is this? Because if you're the god of pleasure and such, and you're not down, what is going on here? All right, why are you saying that? Or Poseidon, why are you saying that you think that I'm ODing and I gotta relax? All right, how is this gonna impact you if I do this? Right? How does it mess up the harmony of the sea if I do this? Because that was my thing. It's like I don't know who the god is of the earth, but homie, you're messing up their stuff, right? The animals of any other thing, right? Any of the other elements. How does this impact that? Not well. Okay, you mess up everything else when you're just like no destruction or fear when you lead with fear can't be good. And also, like when you're also always leading in fear, leading with fear, even just the feeling how what that creates otherwise as well. Because even it was real, I felt impacted when the homies find out you going into the what was it, the door that it goes through,
The frame.
the frame, right? You go to the frame and then nothing. Bitch. I go, nothing happens. You the God of the universe, and nothing. We don't even get to come hang out with you. That's messed up. Why ain't enough room in Olympus for us? Right? You created us. There should be enough room. You have whatever you need, and clearly bodies are disposable somehow. They just come and go. You couldn't even just give us a new body, friend. Like, dang. When you could just create the thing, even if it was hard. This is harder. You see the stress? You see the lines? Stress. Now you're freaking out. You're not looking good.
It's such imbalance when you spoilers, obviously, y'all.
Yeah.
But it's like storing. It's like a computer. You can't. The cloud can. I mean, I guess they now made this cloud that can supposedly hold a lot of whatever. But like things take up space, you know, and they. It's just that's not the way things go because they're not allowed to renew. I thought that was also very deep. And to bring it to death, this is a totally different thing. But just thinking about how we don't get to renew in the world, just in our physical. When we die, they put you in a box. Okay, there's a concrete. I don't know if people know there's concrete in the plot, and then you're in the coffin. So you're not touching the earth is not touching you, and you are not touching the earth. So then that's scary. That's why death is so scary because you're still out of connection with the renewal process. Because when things die, like if an animal dies and it's in the soil, it gets eaten, it gets broken down, and it gets to have a new life in a totally different way. It gets to eat other things, it gets to be a part of other things, it gets to lose itself and become something different. But we're so, again, with this individualism and such fear around losing ourselves because we're so not connected to other people. It makes sense. Like if I don't know you, I don't want to be you. If I don't know the world and I don't feel safe in the world, I don't want to be a part of it either. But that's the only way to, I mean, you got to return to the earth, but we're just been so taught opposite to that. Like, I really do not understand the desire to be preserved in this coffin. Like, I also don't want to be wearing no clothes when I'm dead. Like,
why are you dressing me up? I
why,
can't.
why would I just be, also, why wouldn't we just be in the hole? Like,
Right. What? Why would it help anybody that I'm in a box in a box? Who does that help?
the cemetery business. It's like, again, all this like industry thing. It ends up being like the machine and the industry takes up more space and gets more energy than the humans again. Like the world would maybe be a better place if we didn't have as also all the land dedicated to cemeteries. Like also, we know, so I know cemeteries was a money grab, or like the death process was a money grab because people used to die at home, and you would have home plots.
Right. Where you get to be continued honored and like cared for and heal and do the thing. And I think that it is remembering that these systems that currently exist disrupt all of that, and we have to disrupt all of that. Right. So taking better care of your of the dead, taking care of people's lives. Even with this being Suicide Prevention Month, um, suicide prevention is also reconnecting people to the earth and to their sense of belonging here. You belong here. It's not even just about being needed. You belong here. That's why you're here. And it's not here in the situation. It's not here in the pain and the horrible things that have happened, but here in this here and now, right? Like you belong here on this planet with these people because there are people here who love you, who care for you, who desire you, right? Who want to support you just cause, right? Is a James Baldwin quote. I think I'm gonna find this one. Is that this world is held together by the love of very few people, like deep love, like really, really deep love, right, for one another. And that's actually really important that we remember that. Uh, and how to support one another and how do we cultivate that love for ourselves and for each other. right? And not through the struggle, because it's not about trauma bonding either. You know, I think it's so it's so important to keep remembering, and it annoyingly so. Annoyingly so. Okay, here's the full quote. It says, "Love has never been a popular movement. No one's ever wanted really to be free. The world is held together, really, it is held together by the love and the passion of a few people. Otherwise, of course, you can despair. Walk down the street of any city any afternoon and look around you. What you've got to remember is what you're looking at is also you. Everyone you're looking at is also you. You could be that person. You could be that monster. You could be that cop. And you have to decide in yourself not to be." Right? And it is a community thing, and it is an individual thing. Period. It is both, and it will always be both, and it must be outside of these systems, because people are not systems, right? We are not necessarily to be studied or picked apart, right? Parts of us thrown away, right? We take away the rage, but we keep the calm. You can't have one without the other. There's a reason for it. It has a purpose. It has an intention, right? So even as people are like thinking and feeling about therapy and how do they get support and mental health, like we have to be able to cultivate that space of love within ourselves as well as out in the world, right? And not just as a side hobby, not as a side hustle, not as any of those things, but fully and truly within ourselves and within our communities, right? People must return to their families, but we must be able to return to our families whole, right? That's how our families become whole. As opposed to these weird conversations around broken families, I would say every family on this planet is broken because this human family is broken, right? Or at least feels broken. It's not actually broken, but we are hurting. Right? We're in pain. We're in deep suffering in a way that feels like there's no way out. And only when we remember that there is love, even if we didn't feel like we felt it, or if we feel like we didn't get it from our families, from our biological families, if it feels like we don't get to have it in the current space or communities that we're a part of, it has to exist. It must exist. That's the only way that any of this happens. Right? That's the only way that this planet is still spinning. And I feel like I used to be really confused about that. Like, what? But it is. There's an energy to it, and it's hard to put a name to it and words to it. Right? You know it when you feel it, like any other true and deep love. Right? The deep love of a parent to a child who actually feels that way, not necessarily obligated to feel that way, but truly feels that deep love and connection. Right? The same thing between friends, between partners, between teachers and students, like feeling that like love of knowledge and learning. Right? There's a way that you feel that. I think that that is what is keeping this whole joint going and gives anybody hope for any possible future. Right? It's the one thing that's given me hope for this possible future. Uh, yeah, the future is possible. I feel like when people are like the future is queer, the future is trans, the future is feminist, the future is possible. That is possible, and it's possible with love and through love. Period. Love as we know it, and also love as we've never known it before. And I feel like that's what I got from chaos as well.
Through
Dionysus.
love, all things are possible. And I think again, people use that for justifying a lot of shit. But again, that's when we have to really understand and know love. No, love is not a feeling. It's not just a feeling. It's a doing. It's a practice. It's a choice. It's a will. Extending your will to another person and to yourself.
Actually. Well, my hope is that if you've gotten to this point in our conversation, that you've enjoyed this conversation. Um, so we're gonna wrap it up. Gary, do you have any things that you want the homies to know? Where to find you? If you got anything coming up? Hilarious.
You can I have my Substack, which I occasionally update, towardwholeness.substack.com. I have been not on social media since October of last year, coming up on a year of no social media, which I quite enjoy, honestly. But I have been wanting to like share more. So you can stay tuned. Like Gary Talks is my thing. Toward Wholeness is the thing that I like to do. So yeah, you can find me on those things.
Awesome, awesome. Y'all can find me at thelithhealer.com. So THELITHEALER.com. And this I am offering breath work for individuals as well as for groups. If you want any sort of mediumship, if you're like, I want to talk to my dead homies, please feel free to come talk to me because I'm the calling card. I also do intuitive coaching and really want to support folks in their transformation and the changes that you might be going through, right? Grief is a transformative process and experience, right? Moving through anxiety, moving through fear, moving through doubt. We can do that even with the power of our breath. It is the love from the universe. And we get to breathe in and allow out for our own transformation and benefit. So feel free to hit me up if you want to experience any of those things. And then tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be doing Earth Ascension, which is a guided meditation group where I do a little bit of energy healing and we do some breath work. But ultimately, how do we heal ourselves, right? And this month, the theme is home body. So the body as your first home, right? Your first home that's yours, right? When we first get here, we in a different kind of home that's not ours, but this is ours, right? And so how do we be with that in this time and space and really clean house in a healthy and transformative way? Okay, so we'll be doing some of that tomorrow, Sunday, September 15th. Right, I'm in September, September 15th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I look forward to folks joining. It is a sliding scale workshop, and nobody gets turned away if you don't have the funds for it. So please feel free to attend, and you can find out more information about that and register at thelithhealer.com/events. Okay, so I hope y'all enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for being with us and being with me. I hope y'all have a great day. Thanks, Gary. Adios.